Hey guys, my name is Gianna, and I'm going to be doing my presentation on the movie Hidden Figures and just how it relates to gender inequality and also race. Hey, so if you haven't seen the film Hidden Figures, it's about a group of African American women. Their names are Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, who are overall really intelligent. They're good at mathematics and just science. So they try to get a job at NASA. And the movie just overall causes a lot of controversy about race and gender, and also brings in effect just the issue of women in the workplace and how it was uncommon. And especially being as a colored woman during this time, it's just difficult, um, which I'll get into more, but it also has an empowering ending that I'll shortly talk about. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the time period that this movie was filmed in. Um, so the time period of this movie is set in the 1960s. As you know, this was when the civil rights movement was occurring. Therefore, it just shows a lot of discrimination examples against African Americans and just overall limited equality. During this time, again, women were not typical workers, and African Americans were trying to gain rights. So they often spoke out about their mistreatment in society during this time, um, and just the overall discrimination against them, and how it was just difficult for a colored woman to get a job during this time. So the movie and the time period correlate in regards to rights. So, as one could see, being African American during this time period was especially difficult, and at the same time, being a woman, a colored woman, was difficult, especially in the workplace. So, the movie just kind of talks about the women's struggles and how frustrated they get, rightfully so, just because the women in the movie had to prove something in order to get their jobs, because they were colored women, and that was just like what it was like during this time period. Um, Whereas a white man could just walk in and immediately get a job. So you kind of see how frustrating it was to these women. They had to try extra hard, and it was just difficult overall. But the movie eventually expresses how females can be leaders because the three women end up becoming the first African American women to work for NASA, and um, just trying to be the first colored women to make a statement. So, attached, I just put a link to one of the scenes in the movie where the woman talks to a judge and just expresses how important it is for her to be recognized as a human as well, and just trying to express the importance for her to work in this industry.
Hampton High School is a white school, Mrs. Jackson.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm aware of that.
Virginia, still a segregated state.
Your Honor, you of all people should understand the importance of being first.
How's that, Mrs. Jackson?
Well, you were the first in your family to serve in the armed forces, U.S. Navy, the first to attend university.
What's the point?
I plan on being an engineer at NASA, but I can't do that without taking them classes at that all-white high school. And I can't change the color of my skin. So I have no choice but to be the first, which I can't do without you, sir. Your Honor, out of all the cases you're gonna hear today, which one is gonna matter 100 years from now? Which one is gonna make you the first?
No protocol for women attending.
Gender and race views have changed a lot, in my opinion, just based on the civil rights movement versus today. So nowadays, women in the workplace have become a normality. You'll typically see women working now, just because times have changed overall. And so it just kind of expresses the fact how feminism has been put more into place and women were able to express their thoughts more. This goes along with how human rights are expressed for everyone, not just white men. Um, as we discussed in class, women were just seen as kind of animals or objects, like just something that was not a human, which I thought was just insane. So nowadays, women are actually seen as a human and can get the same rights as a white man. So the movie kind of expresses this at the end where the women become leaders of this huge industry of NASA. And it also expresses how women's roles have changed a lot. So women, also we discussed this in class, just kind of were told to clean and care for families, but nowadays you'll see them more in the workplace, which I think is a huge improvement. So just to sum up, Hidden Figures is a very empowering movie, and it just goes over how far colored women have come in society, just regarding their rights and discrimination. You see them as just being treated as nothing in the beginning of the movie, basically being told that they don't really have potential and just being denied jobs even though they're working so hard. And then you see these three women at the end becoming leaders of such a huge industry. Better yet, becoming the first African American women to do this. So this movie just overall shows how harsh the civil rights movement was against women and how feminism also comes into play. During this feminism movement, women actually are able to express how they feel and are able to become involved in the workplace. And I think today's roles of women have completely changed. Just again, how you see more women in the workplace, and it's still typical to see women running families and just like cooking, cleaning, but it's also more typical to see them working, and I think that's kind of inspiring. And I just think this movie is a good representation of how times have evolved, and colored women can absolutely be allowed to work and have the same rights as white men. So thank you for listening, and I recommend this movie. It's just really empowering and shows how women's rights and race have evolved over time.